Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 2 versus 2 on Mont Ormel, and in this one I'm going to be playing the 3rd Armoured deck. I'm going to be playing with Betts, who's using the 2nd Armoured French Division, and we're playing against Nicae and Erwin Rommel, who are going to be using the 12th SS Panzer and 21st Panzer Division respectively. Let's just switch this to my point of view. I'll speed up the deployment and I'll start to talk about what we had planned to do. And it was pretty simple on this map. I was going to take the right, Betts was going to take the left. After a little bit of deliberation about what we wanted to do, that's what we thought was best. So I'm just going to be bringing in a couple of AT guns at the start with some recon. Now the good thing about the recon on this deck, it does come in with these 30 cal jeeps, which aren't fantastic, but definitely provide that little bit extra fire support, which can be useful against enemy AT guns and enemy infantry. I'm also bringing up the armoured rifles and command infantry combo. Now the great thing about the command infantry on this deck is they do come with the 50 cal half track, which does turn into a 2-star 50 cal half track once the command infantry have dropped out, so definitely make good use of those if you're using the deck. And then I have one Stuart in here as well. Over on the right, recon, infantry, command infantry. In the middle, infantry, command infantry, AT gun, recon and Stuart. And then over on the left side, I've got an AT gun with a recon squad. Now this was thanks to Betts. Betts notified me that this spot up here is a really good spot for an AT gun because it has great line of sight over the fields ahead. And that's exactly where I'm going for with that AT gun. Now just looking at this game is actually beautiful. If I hide the HUD for a second, you can have a good look at how amazing this game actually looks. Either way, units are getting to their positions. This AT gun's just going to drop into the side of this tree line. The recon squad's going to drop in there as well. I'm dropping off the infantry just below this tree line. I've got my AT gun and recon here moving towards the bushes. Over on the right side, I'm actually surprised that I've made so much ground here. So I move up my armoured rifles as far as I can before I spot enemy units, and I'm going to occupy these buildings on the far right because that's already given us a lot of ground. I'm happy to concede the buildings in the middle because I wasn't really prepared to push that far. And now what I'm going to do is use these AT guns to try and pick off some of these half tracks. So I managed to hit the U304 there in the open, and this AT gun's got a really nice shot towards that. However, the AT gun on the right gets the kill. This recon squad's moving forwards with return fire, and this Jeep 30 cal is just trying to harass the half tracks. I'm bringing this little combination of 2 half tracks and the Stuart round to the centre at the moment to combat this infantry and the half tracks. Got my own infantry here, that's just sitting in the back side of this tree line for now because I don't want them to move forwards and get hit by enemy fire support. Over on the right side, bring in the half tracks to the centre as well. I'm going to leave the 30 cal here just in case I need it. But what's happened here that's actually really good is that we've managed to stun and force both of these Panzer Grenadiers back before they even got into the compound. Over on the left, I managed to force the 259 in the centre to fall back thanks to this AT gun. You can see here this recon has really good line of sight as well, so that's perfect in combination with the AT gun to sit on the edge of the hill there and fire down upon the enemy. So my M1 gun was forced to fall back since it did get hit hard by the enemy machine guns, but so far so good. I mean, it's roughly 50-50. Well, we did do some good damage to the Panzer Grenadiers, and we have taken out a couple of APCs. Now it's just quietened down a little bit whilst I'm deciding how I want to push into the enemy. Now ideally I want to take out this Panzer 35 on the right. Best thing I have to do that is the M5A1 with the 8 AP power. Trying to also take out the 259 on the left side with this AT gun. The Panzer Grenadiers here are going to walk into the machine gun fire of the Stuart. And what I'm doing here is moving forwards the Jeep just to advance the front line. Pretty much all that this Jeep was doing. And that also told me that there is absolutely nothing in this compound, so I'm able to bring up some infantry and occupy that. M5A1 is going to get a side shot onto the Panzer 35 there. Panzer 35 probably should have been firing back as soon as he got spotted, but it looks like that was just on a move order as opposed to an attack move order. Now brought up a mortar carrier, and I've just got this infantry heading towards this compound where the Jeep is. Got another combination of troops for the hill as well. Really want to make sure that no infantry can push through these trees and kill off my AT gun. So just bringing over a couple of units there to make sure that doesn't happen. As you can see, I've dropped off these armoured rifles. They're going to try and get into position. Meanwhile, I'm moving these half tracks to the left so that I can push forwards with the armoured rifles. Now I do spot this AT gun, and that allows me to get my mortar on target. I'm going to start to mortar this AT gun, and then I'm going to use the half tracks to provide fire support onto the Panzer Grenadiers so that my armoured rifles can move forwards and capture this compound. The other good thing about this is that I'm managing to keep all of these half tracks out of line of sight of the AT gun, so he's going to have to try and move it round to get line of sight. Meanwhile, I'm just using the mortar carrier to mortar the other AT gun that's appeared to the right, which I'm spotting thanks to this recon squad. And there goes that, thanks to the Stuart and its machine guns. And there's also the Pak 43 here, so I'm just going to continue the mortar fire. Managed to stun those squads and severely damage the recon. I'm now using all of these half tracks to harass the Pak 43. The Pak 43 does manage to take out one of my M3 half tracks, however the 50 cal is still alive, and therefore after a little while the Pak 38, caught out in the open, is going to go down. In my opinion, I would have liked to have seen that Pak 38 move behind the tree line rather than try and move forwards to get in line of sight of my half tracks, but in this case it cost him the AT gun. And this Pak 43 is a good response, but because I have recon and I already have this mortar here prepared, it's not going to be able to do very much, and I'm just going to constantly mortar that. It's trying to fall back as well, but because it takes so long to rotate it, it was staying in the same place for so long. What I'm trying to do is get this Stuart into line of sight of the Pak 43 to be able to use its machine guns and take out the AT gun once and for all. Just sort of rushing it down, making sure that it can't be used more effectively. There is the 222 that is going to knock out the driver and the gunner of the Stuart. However, not really much threat there. 4 AP power is not really going to have a chance in penetrating the Stuart. I just want the Stuart to actually get on target and take that out. Unfortunately, because this is an autocannon, the critical hits are actually quite common. Over on this left side though, do take out the Panzergrenadier, leaving both of these Panzer Grenadiers without veterancy. I'm just going to push on them with my half tracks and my armoured rifles here. Finally take out the 222. And finally I'm pinning down these Panzer Grenadiers. There's just nothing he can do at this point. I'm going to use the mortars to just mortar towards that 222, try and help out. But obviously the 222 is already dead now. Just trying to utilise this mortar carrier as best as I could as I'm trying to push forwards on this right side. So I am in phase A and I'm currently working with 65 points, and at this part and this phase it's very important that you do utilise your units as best you can, because if you lose too many units as a 3rd Armoured in phase A, you can definitely put yourself in a terrible position moving forwards. I'm going to take out those Panzergrenadier thanks to the half tracks. And now we're going to be hitting this Kubel hard. I've also got a Mustang flying around just in case. I do have 2 Mustangs on the deck early on. One of my half tracks is going to go down to the Pak 38 and the Panzer 35s. And I'm going to bring over the Stuart here to try and get into line of sight and help out. I'm also moving forwards my AT guns now. This one's moving towards this compound and this one's moving across the hill. Getting line of sight back onto the Pak 43, making sure that's dead, and the M5A1 2 stars at that close range is more than likely able to one-shot kill. So that's kind of what I was counting on. Could have easily ended up the other way if the Panzer 35 had got on target and I'd missed my shot. A little bit of risk there, but again, 2-star veterancy, always very helpful. Charging down this half track with the 50 cal. And as you can see, I have moved up the armoured rifles and armoured leader into this compound after I'd had them on the hill. So we're making great progress, and I've got so much ground on this right side that I've decided to actually run forwards my armoured rifles, recon, armoured leader and my half tracks on this right side to try and capture these buildings. And my half track does get destroyed on the left side by the Panzer 35, but we do manage to pick off the enemy half track, so I pretty much traded that kill. Although the 50 cal half tracks are worth quite a bit more than the standard U304s with their machine guns. But we finally moved into Phase B. They're going to have some more beefier units available. I'm going to bring in the M8 Greyhound to provide me with some mobile recon. But at this point in the game, 66% lead, and this is mainly down to the fact that I've been using this mortar carrier in conjunction with my armour to push forwards. Now I think that a lot of people don't anticipate the enemy's counter units, and in this game I felt that I did that really well, and that's why I wanted to show it to you guys. So basically, because I invested so much in like the half tracks and armor at the start of the game, I knew that they would obviously invest in a lot of AT guns, which they did. But the first thing I brought just to brought onto the field just to sort of counter that was my mortar half track, and it worked out really, really well. Now here I'm trying to be smart about taking on this Panzer 35, so I'm getting the Stuart into position here so that I can basically attack move both sides at once, and he's going to have to face his armour towards one of them and then the other one can get a side shot. This M5A1 actually hits him in the front armour and kills him, but either way, just doing that two-pronged attack there onto that Panzer 35 gets rid of it nicely. Not sure what the tank is coming up, so just sort of backing off for now. I'm focusing on the right side where I've lost my half track. So going to pull back these armoured rifles as they get caught out in the open, keeping my vehicles tucked up against the tree line just so that the tanks can't get a good line of sight. And I'm going to put some smoke on top of the armoured rifles in case they try and follow me round. Also moving my M8 Greyhound in that direction, and slowly moving forwards my mortar half track so that it can continue to provide smoke cover and HE where necessary. Over on the left side, Betts has been doing a great job, been pushing forwards with multiple Stuarts, and he's got this M10 in there, but he's now come up against the Firefly. And what I'm going to do, since this is a Panzer IV and I'm not really sure about engaging that with two Stuarts, I'm going to try and move them back to the right side to assist these units. So I'm trying to avoid this Panzer IV and just move to the right. What I should have done here is actually smoke the backside of the Stuart, because I didn't realise that that was actually in line of sight of the Panzer IV. And what ended up happening, of course, is I lose the tank. Whereas if I'd reacted sooner and smoked that off, then I definitely would have been able to save that Stuart, which is so important for the 3rd Armoured in Phase A and B. Now, the Panzer 35 was sitting way too close to the tree line here, so I managed to pick that off with the bazooka from the armoured rifles, and the M8 Greyhound's going to pick up another Panzer Grenadier squad. I'm now going to bring up a new AT gun, since they are using these heavier tanks. So I need something to be able to deal with the Panzer IV, so I'm going to bring up the 2-star 76mm. And then I've got an M4A1 Command Sherman on the way, alongside this M4A3 Calliope. And well, my next strong point that I need to attack is here, with the Panzer IV, the Marder 1, and whatever else is in there. I'm not entirely sure what's there, so I'm just assuming that's well defended, and therefore bringing up the Calliope so that I can make my attack. Meanwhile, in the centre here, just going to cover off this gap in the trees, not going to push through it because it's probably suicide. Just keeping my Greyhound here to provide recon onto the tree line, whilst my Stuart sits back in cover alongside the AT gun, which has line of sight the whole way down the road. And there goes that Kubel. I'm just maintaining my infantry on the right here. Could have probably tried to push through, but if there's any like machine guns here, then I'm going to have a hard time moving across the open into those buildings. I maybe could have gone further to the right and walked through the tree line, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't try to risk it. The Calliope here, going to be opening up with its first rocket strike, and that's basically to get rid of this Marder. The AT gun actually manages to pick off the Panzer IV, which was fantastic. Really opened up a lot of opportunities for the left side attack. I've got this Command Sherman up on the hill. I've got the Greyhound here. I've got the half track. I'm going to actually just push forwards this half track, just to see how much ground I can make and if there's anything in these buildings, which I then find out there certainly is. Now I'm really starting to push with all of my units now. Calliope's reloading and getting back on target to fire the rest of its rockets, and away they go. And that's just to cover my forces as they advance. There's actually a Panzerschreck squad being brought up here, and that gets instantly destroyed by the Calliope. I have the M4A1 Sherman on the hill, shooting down onto the half-track there, and I'm making a lot of ground now. So my 50 cal half-track's moving up pretty far. Just having that drive towards the compound. I was really surprised that there wasn't too much infantry here. However, the Panzer Grenadiers do manage to pick off the 50 cal half-track, but as soon as they reveal themselves, they're going to get pinned down. Over on the right side, 231 Recon comes out wide. Does get hit very hard. Panzer Grenadiers try and come across the tree line. Do manage to take out the 30 cal Jeep, but both of those units are going to be pinned down and therefore surrender. Just taking out that Panzer Grenadier squad now, thanks to another surrender. And, well, this is why you keep your infantry just behind the tree line and not in the tree line, because if they were in the tree line, they would have taken fire from this Panzer IV and whatever else was on the other side of that line there. The M8's going to be able to take out the Marder 1, no problemo. And now we spot two Panzer IVs, and before I can get the Greyhound out of there, I do lose that recon. So I can't really engage Panzer IVs at max range with my Sherman, so what I'm going to end up doing is just hiding the Sherman behind the building here, using my infantry to occupy this compound, and just provide presence so they can't push back against us. Also got the Calliope here, that it is going to provide 11 AP power and 11 armor, so just kind of trying to move that forward to provide some armor presence. I probably should have brought up some supply sooner so that I could have reused that. But I'm still moving forwards my AT guns here, and one thing to really note about this game is how all of my infantry squads from the start of the game are still alive. And that is very, very important for the 3rd Armoured and other low-income decks early on. Even the French, actually, because French don't have as much availability. Now I've decided to just invest in these Mustangs. Again, it's just sort of a pre-counter. I know we're going to win in a minute, and the only way they can really do a lot of damage to me at this point is just by either bombing me or using those rocket strikes from the ME-109s. They've just preemptively brought a lot of P-51 Mustangs to cover me in the air. I also managed to get the kill onto the recon aircraft there. They've got this big old build-up of armour and infantry and so on, so they're trying to make a combined push towards this compound, but not really going to have much luck. I'm getting my AT into position. My M4A1's in a really nice ambush position, waiting to move out and pop one of these Panzer IVs, especially with the 2-star veterancy at close range. Will be able to take out the Panzer IV very easily. Also got my mortar carrier in position. So, really anticipating this push at the moment. Going to be hitting them with the P-51 Mustangs, of course. That's just going to be stunning the infantry, making that pretty useless. And I've got another AT gun coming up on the left. But with us reaching the conquest points, the push does not come through. And after 19 minutes and 31 seconds, myself and Betts win the game. So if we jump to the team scores, well, you can see exactly how well I did. 1,622 kills to 350 losses. Now again, this is mainly due to the fact that I was being extremely conservative with my units, and I was making sure that I had the pre-counters to everything that the enemy could have thrown at me throughout that game, just to try and make sure that my units could stay alive as long as they could. And in this case, worked out really, really well. So my opponent's there not doing too bad. Betts actually lost quite a lot towards the end of the game. I believe he started to lose his M10s and so on to the German armour coming in, which definitely can do a lot of damage moving into Phase B. You've got the Panther Ds, you've got the Jagdpanzers and so on to worry about, and for a French deck, that's actually pretty horrific. If we look at the kills though, the AT gun's picking up multiple half-track kills. This AT gun picked up that Panzer IV, which was really, really good for helping my push on the right side. This M5A1 Stuart, that managed to take out 3 Panzer 35s. It took out a 222, a couple of infantry squads and half-tracks. The M3A1 half-track there, picking off the AT gun with its 50 cal, and this M8 Greyhound coming in and taking out the Marder 1, which was nice. So the Calliope didn't actually do too much, but it definitely helped stun and break the morale of the units to allow me to push into that compound. So that was just basically my demonstration of like combined pushes, making sure you keep your infantry safe and make sure you have the counter to the enemy counter. So there you go. Hopefully that was a fun game to watch. These are my losses. The multiple half tracks that I lost throughout the game as I was trying to probe forwards, and the M5A1 to the Panzer IV. Otherwise, the second most valuable thing I lost was an M8 Greyhound to another Panzer IV as well. That's pretty much it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.